With Connor Williams essentially now the Dolphins center, one of you guys asked me a very good question, and I thought, let me make a whole video about that. What is up, Finn fans? So Connor Williams essentially has hinted at yesterday and kind of talked about that he is told that he's going to be the Dolphins' new center. And one of you great human beings, Scott Gaver, essentially said for comment of the day, he said, Doug, learning yesterday that Connor Williams will be the center, what's your comfort level with that? And I thought to myself, let me talk about it. Let me go into detail. Let me talk about some things I've been hearing from inside the organization, some things I'm hearing from beat writers, and a little research that I did myself to kind of see where I feel about Connor Williams being the Dolphins center when he never really played center. And it kind of seems like a Dieter situation and all that other stuff. So we're going to jump right into this. Now, JC Tretter's still out there, and I talked about this in a previous video that, a lot of people want to go for JC Tretter, and I'm pretty sure the Dolphins have made a phone call. The Dolphins have contacted him somewhat. But I'm also hearing that his biggest worry is the heat in Miami. If you guys know about what happened with him in Cleveland, he never practiced. He would just play the games because of his knee and ankle issues. So essentially, he's worried about doing that in Miami and then trying in the Miami Heat to go out non-conditioned in practice to play these games. That's what's worrying him. So again, the Dolphins haven't signed him. No one has really signed him. Obviously, there's something going on there. So the Dolphins decided, let's keep trying Dieter there. And Connor Williams has taken snaps at center. Like I said yesterday, Connor Williams came out and said he made the Dolphins essentially told him, you're going to be the center. Foregone conclusions, you're most likely going to be the center for the Dolphins. And here's my thought process on it, right? Look at Connor Williams as a player, right? A lot of people are like, well, he had 15. He actually had 17 penalties last year. 3 of them were accepted. It's a lot of penalties, a lot of holding, a lot of that stuff. And I've heard people in the comment section, I've heard people on Twitter and all these other things reach out to me and say, I don't know. I don't feel comfortable about Connor Williams. I don't think that he can really do much because of his penalty issue. So I did the research, obviously. Last year, yes, he had a ton of penalties, a ton of holding, all that stuff. The year before, he only had 4 penalties. The year before that, he only had 6 penalties. 1 of them were accepted. And the year before that, he only had 6 penalties, which is around the average for an NFL offensive lineman to have around 4 to 6 penalties. It happens. You get some grabbing. Sometimes you get some BS calls on holding and all that stuff. So before last year's anomaly of him having 17 penalties, he had 4, 6, and 6. Nothing there to worry about. Now, Chris Kaufman came out and he tweeted something that I found very interesting. Back in March, he said something from last night's 3 yards per carry episode. Kyle Shanahan once told Brian Hoyer what he really needs to make his offense work. A dominant X receiver, a possession receiver, a burner, a pass-catching tight end, 2 pass-catching running backs, and a cerebral center. Keep that in mind. Now, of that list, right, 2 pass-catching running backs, we definitely have that, regardless if it's Gaskin, Mostert, Edmonds, we have 2 pass-catching running backs. A pass-catching tight end, we have a pass-catching tight end of Mike Gesicki. A burner, pick one. Cedric Wilson could be a burner, but obviously we have Tyreek Hill and we have Waddle. Possession receiver, that could be Preston Williams, that could be Cedric Wilson, that could be so many, and a dominant X receiver. The only thing we were missing was that cerebral center. So then this past June, essentially yesterday, Chris Kaufman came out and said, when I see Connor Williams moving to center for the Dolphins, this is what comes to mind. Williams is a high-profile veteran with 51 starts. He scored a 34 on the Wonderlic back when they were still administrating the test to draft prospects. There's your cerebral center. Now, what I'm hearing now, let me give you guys an update on what I'm hearing. Right, this is what I'm hearing is as of right now the starting offensive line for the Miami Dolphins. You have Teron Armstead at left tackle. You have Liam Eichenberg at left guard. You have Connor Williams at center. Robert Hunt at right guard, and Austin Jackson at right tackle. I wouldn't be surprised if at the most important parts of this offensive line, which essentially is the tackles and the center, they put the best players there. Don't be surprised if all of a sudden you start hearing little chirps and little things here and there that Robert Hunt is taking snaps at right tackle. And when the season starts, you just switch Austin Jackson and Robert Hunt, and Austin Jackson's playing right guard and Robert Hunt is playing right tackle, and you have your best offensive lineman playing the most important positions. But for right now, that's what I'm hearing is Jackson at right tackle, Hunt at right guard. But I'm hearing Liam Eichenberg is doing much better, much better than what people are perceiving him to do, especially going off of what he did last year. He struggled last year, and I'll get to that in a second. But I'm also hearing that Michael Dieter was struggling very hard, and that is the reason they made the turn to Connor Williams at center, and then he's been thriving at center. So here's the thing, right? Some people don't like the idea of Connor Williams being at center. I'm of the type that the more I look at it, the more it makes sense to me. Again, he is a very smart offensive lineman, and you need your center to be very smart, call out protections, call out all the stuff to the offensive line, talk to them, and all that. So that's important. That's very, very important. Also, look at who this is a different team. If this was last year, I'd be a little worried. I'm not gonna lie, because look at who the Dolphins had as their offensive line coach. To me, production comes from the player also equal to the coaching. Like, this player can have that talent. To me, Austin Jackson has the talent. He has the physicality. He has all this stuff. He just needs to be coached up to be a good offensive lineman. Should he have been picked at 18? No. And I honestly didn't think back then that he was going to be picked at 18. I think the Dolphins definitely reached because of the amount of offensive linemen that went beforehand. Go back. Watch my mock draft for the 2020 NFL draft, and you will hear me say if the Dolphins don't take an offensive lineman at 5, they're going to have to trade up for one, or they're going to reach at 18. Go back and watch me say that, and that's exactly what happened. Now, do I think Austin Jackson's a bum and he can't be good? No. But I think him and Noah Igbenogany were kind of reaches there. So I'm getting off track a little bit. But the Dolphins didn't really have an offensive line coach last year. And how many offensive line coaches did we bring in and left and bring in and left and bring in and left? Applebaum had the Boston College had one of the number one offensive lines in the nation last year. One of his guys got drafted, I think, in the first or second round. And then you have Frank Smith, who is our offensive coordinator, but also was an offensive line coach who helped drastically turn around that Chargers offensive line and helped produce a very good offensive line last year. You have 2 good offensive line coaches on your team right now that can take these guys and they know what they're looking for. Also, you have Armstead, who is helping these guys, right? So, to answer your question, and this long-winded, I'm now sitting here at 8 minutes rambling, I do feel comfortable with Connor Williams at center. And the reason I feel comfortable is because of what I'm hearing from inside the organization and from what I've seen with him, right? Connor Williams, again, I'll reiterate this, horrible time last year when it came to penalties, but before that, he was good. He was good at the penalties stuff and all that, and he's also a very smart offensive lineman. I also trust these guys because they have a background and they have proof to show I know how to coach offensive linemen. Whereas our offensive line coach last year has never done it before. It's like Brian Flores was like, I'm going to give this guy a shot. We have a second-year quarterback who we need to help him. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to give this guy who's never coached the offensive line, I'm going to give him a shot because I feel like this is a good time to give him. So honestly, the decision-making coming from Mike McDaniel, from Applebaum, and from Frank Smith, I take a little bit more seriously, and I trust a little bit more than I did in the past. Now that could come back and bite me in the butt, but the fact that the Dolphins did go out and sign the number one offensive lineman in this free agency shows me that they are taking this incredibly seriously. They go out and trade for Tyreek Hill. They go out and sign all these offensive weapons. They're not going to be messing around with the offensive line, I hope and I pray. Again, I've been burned before where last offseason I said, trust the process. Look at what Brian Flores and Chris Greer did to our team. And then they made me completely regret trusting the process. But these guys, Applebaum and Frank Smith, have shown they know what they're doing. So I'm going to trust the process. So yeah, I do feel comfortable with Connor Williams at center. I feel more comfortable with him at center than I do with Michael Dieter at center, just because of he's done it before, not necessarily at center, but he's played at a high level on the offensive line enough that I feel comfortable with this move. But how do you guys feel, right? I wanted to make a full video kind of talking about the move, kind of going more in depth on Connor Williams, going more in depth on the move. But I want to know how you guys feel. Do you like the move of him being switched from guard to center? Do you think this is going to be more productive? Do you see the Dolphins also taking Robert Hunt and putting him at right tackle and having our best offensive lineman be at the most important spots of the offense? Comment below. Let me know what you guys think. Obviously, this whole video is essentially a comment of the day, but I'm very interested to see what you guys have to say. Monday, I'm going to be ranking the AFC East offensive lines. This one and the defensive line is difficult because the Dolphins play in a 3-4 and like the Bills play in a 4-3, so it's hard to rank the defensive line. So I came up with an idea. So I've got these videos planned, but not Monday, Wednesday. Next Wednesday, I'll rank the offensive lines because next week, the 6th, the 7th, the 9th, and the 10th is the last week of OTAs. So they're throwing 4 OTAs in next week, and then the Dolphins are done until July when training camp starts. Got a lot of videos planned for you guys next week, especially the offensive line ranking on Wednesday. But other than that, guys, hope you guys have a fantastic weekend. I will talk to you guys on Monday unless news breaks of the Dolphins signing somebody or something. But like usual, stay classy. And fins up.